Hello everybody, this is Bison Crumbs and welcome back to my channel. Right now, we continue to catch up on YNAB, one paycheck at a time, to document my financial journey and for me to hold myself accountable to my own budget. Off the jump though, I wanted to mention a comment that was left on my last video that said I did one of my credit cards wrong, because in all honesty I did. It was with the Citi Double Cash card here. I put the 73 cents because of an overpayment on my card, and because of how YNAB handles credit cards, an overpayment is actually something that is already accounted for, and therefore something I actually don't need to match. So I'm actually going to zero that out because I'm not putting any money aside for that overpayment. It's already there on my credit card waiting to be used. And it's taken out and evened out when I actually pay that credit card. And since we are here, I'm going to go through my ready to be assigned up here, which is just the interest I have earned since my first paycheck into all my accounts. I have not put any of my paycheck in the system to be assigned yet, just to show how expenses came up during this time and how they should be handled as rolling with the punches. Since I'm already here, I just feel it is more beneficial to go through these one by one and kind of show how this is done. This will be a 2-week basis, so it's not going to be the day by day that you should be doing, but kind of an overview of what happened during a 2-week period and how you should be rolling with the punches day by day. And then I will be adding my paychecks in if we couldn't match everything or if we couldn't even everything out. That's where the paychecks come in, but hopefully we have enough wiggle room with the money we do have that the paychecks should just be extra money that I begin organizing for the next week. But with that said, let's begin. So for electricity, I ended up actually only having to spend $25.76 instead of the 26 I thought we were going to have to spend. So I'll be able to minus the 24 cents, which is applied to the home gas, which I was off on. I actually pay about 18 a month just for my half. So I actually have to add this 901 back into here, and then we're evened out there. And so going through, I forgot my Hulu comes out every actually 4th of the month, which I should have accounted for in the first place. I'm still used to a different time period that we had it on before I canceled it in the first place. And so this is where we already started going negative on our to be assigned. So for this money, we're supposed to be looking at things we have extra in so far to pay for that. So an attempt to resell is during the pandemic, I had begun buying things to resell before I kind of realized I just have too much stuff to sell anyways. And flipping things, especially during the pandemic, began feeling not always the most correct thing to do. And also, a lot of these stuff at Goodwill requires a good eye and time investment that I just simply did not and still don't have time for. So this is more just paying for postage of getting rid of things that I already have, and any of the extra money is just straight profit for me. So I'm able to minus the 24.96, and that gives us a little bit more room to start working. My second, well, we'll go back up here. So it pays for the home gas that we already did, and then for Hulu, it pays for most of it. We did spend $21.39 because I have a bundle of Hulu and Disney Plus. And so I don't want to take it from YNAB right away. I want to see what other things we have going for us. But in general here, I did overspend quite a bit in these 2 weeks. So I guess sooner than I would have liked, we're going to add in my paychecks and see where that leads us. But we are already getting behind on our budget, which is not bueno. This is for March of 2023, so this is all in the past, but that is kind of how you're supposed to roll with the punches. You're supposed to look at I will I will take out the YNAB money I put aside, which gives me $16 to work with again and pays for half of an app subscription that I have for yearly. This one is a journaling app that I use on the daily, or at least I should be more than I am. With March being a 3 paycheck month, I do assume that I will get ahead by the end of it, but I do know I spent a lot for food for two is both of us eating out. Yeah, this budget still needs a lot of work with the categories. So I am going to fast forward here and add in my paychecks. And boom. So now we sit with my paycheck of $877. And we're going to go through again and actually put these up to my overspent amounts. So for my Journey app, I overspent by $1605. And this is kind of what this debt journey is about. It's just realizing that I do overspend to a certain degree, and I need to hold myself accountable for that. So for creative careers, this one is my second channel that I'm beginning to work on. I spent $52 since there's a sale on some of the things I need for it. Kickstarter, I do end up buying a lot of indie like comic books through Kickstarter, and I don't do it very often, but when I do, it can kind of double hit with the amounts since it's usually a couple of campaigns all at once, or I get stuck on the site and I see something that I would also like. But I do mostly try to keep them digital nowadays, just because I don't really keep them on the shelf anyways. In certain series, I do have a little library, but for the most part, I try to keep my library to a limited amount just for my own sake nowadays. So $42 there. Gas I didn't overspend on. We actually have a surplus of $11. So that's pretty good. Sweet Stop. This is in general just some like convenience store snacks, candy, that kind of thing. I ended up spending a little bit more just because I was trying a few jerkies and beef sticks is kind of a passion we've had recently between me and my wife. So that ended up being $30.26. And I guess for groceries, we ended up spending less than I thought we would. Instead of that $72, we only spent $47. So that's doing pretty good as well. I'll keep that amount in it just because I budgeted more for closer to the month. And we'll see how far that 72 takes us. It was kind of a slow week between the two of us for buying actual groceries. We ended up spending a lot more between these two categories, which casual fast food is just fast food for me. I don't tend to eat out a whole lot, but I did eat out a few times by myself. So that's 1147. Food for two, that is eating out together as a couple. And some weeks are better than others, but between these 2 weeks, we ended up spending $126. My wife ended up having a pretty bad week at work. Well, between work and her car malfunctioning and having to be taken in, there was just a couple of things that piled up, and to be nice, we ended up going out a lot more. So we made it easy on ourselves and spent a little bit over in eating out for the two of us. But going down, did end up going to the movies for Scream 6 with a bunch of friends. I should say I'm not entirely into horror movies, but my wife is a lot more, and her friends are really into Scream as a series. I have only watched this one and the last one, but it was alright. It was pretty good, actually. So, this friend outing is more of I have a group LAN party I have planned to get together, and if you don't know what a LAN party is, it's just everybody getting together in one room to play a video game. Um, we're kind of reliving the old days by trying to get a couple of achievements, and for that, I have prepared some prizes for them helping me out in that journey. So that's the 5476 just for some prizes there. We're not touching any of these Ross yet, unless we have to. We might have to soon. As I mentioned in the last video, emergency funds are kind of useless in YNAB because a general fund for emergencies isn't really being saved for those specific emergencies, whether it be the doctor or dental emergencies or home repairs or car repairs. Those categories I am beginning to save for, and if I'm not, which for this rainy day stuff, I'm not, this can be repurposed for those because that's what it's actually for. Instead of a general savings for emergencies, where my account on the left here, I can still have all that money put away for that specific purpose, but it should be divided between actually rainy day funds. And those two numbers don't match at the moment when they should. Because I transferred money from my checking to this savings account, it was $35, which should put us there. I also have the untouchable amount. With credit unions, at least for most of them, you have to pay into them. It's only like a $5 fee that you get back at the end of it if you ever close your account. Credit unions are more, you're not just a customer, you are a patron of that credit union. It's everyone working together, and you have to have some quote unquote monetary stake into the credit union itself. And that's where that $5 comes in, which is kind of why I kept these like they are. But as long as I keep on, when I move money over, putting putting that money into YNAB's budgeting system, it should be evened out. And if not, I do quarterly audits, and I will probably be using those as times to, for sure, reorganize my budget and get rid of some categories, but also to make sure that all my money is in the right place. And probably an opportunity just to redo that credit card challenge I did, which is why we are in still March, because paying off all those credit cards before the end of the month rolls over for YNAB just looks really nice with all those zeros. But for now, there's $35, so a total of 136.19, and that's where I'm going to divide it between some of these categories. So I think auto maintenance is something that I feel is going to be needed more sooner than later. And so I will put $100 towards that. And then I'll split the 36.19 between these two. It's 36, right? Yeah. So I'll put 18 towards the doctor and 1816 towards the dentist, since I still have a little bit of hangups with dentists. I might need a little bit more money in there. But then I can actually zero this out minus the 136.19. That evens that out, and then I can close it maybe at a later date. But we'll see on that one. I might have to go through my accounts and double check a few things. But then, as we continue, I did some repair work on my Nintendo 64. It was having an issue where it wouldn't display when it displayed just I guess a couple weeks before this. So I took it into a game repair shop and it worked perfectly for them, which was interesting. And when I took it back home, it wouldn't display again. And I have two different display cords, one that works with my GameCube and one that didn't work at all on either of them. So through my troubleshooting, I threw out the old Nintendo 64 one that no longer works, but the GameCube one, which actually is the same uh, cables, which I found out pretty cool. But troubleshooting it, it worked on the GameCube, but not on the Nintendo. And I remembered at the repair shop that they didn't have me give them any of my cords, just the Nintendo 64. And they didn't charge me because it worked perfectly for them. And so I ended up going online and buying a new power cord for the Nintendo 64 because while it showed that it was powered, apparently it wasn't fully powered and it wouldn't display because of that. So this actually worked. If you ever have that kind of trouble, it was actually my uh, AV cord for the Nintendo 64. It's causing my display not to go even though it was getting power through the AV. So I spent $14.90 on that, which was pretty good. And then a couple of microtransactions through some of my games. I did get a little bit obsessed with Rocket League during this time, and that turned out to be a little bit more of a money sink than I wanted it to. But lesson learned, don't get too obsessed with a new game and start spending money through free-to-play games even. And then I ended up buying a few Xbox games just because they were on sale. They were ones I've been looking at for quite a while. Me and my wife had a date, so I I forgot that the date would fall in the beginning of the month. So let's adjust for those. I do categorize date day as the date day is kind of the events of the day, and then the dinner is separate just to keep it straight in my head. Extra love. This is just the general things I do for my wife that don't really have a category, but it's the reason behind it. The reason behind me spending money is just because I want to spend something to buy my wife. So let's put the 28.96 up here. And our anniversary is still May 1st, which is coming up very soon. But for now, $30 stays there because I'm not budgeting for that. After Christmas spending, this was for another calendar that I needed for work, just to keep track of everything. I don't really have a calendars category, which maybe I'll make, but for now, I usually buy calendars after Christmas just because they go on sale for a pretty good price at least. And because it's still the beginning of the year or the end of the last year, it still goes over pretty well with the timing. Calendars are just pricier before the holidays just because everyone buys calendars. So, just a little hint for you. I do my calendar shopping as soon as I get back from uh, my family's home up in South Dakota, and it's usually on sale by then. Um, a couple of these I ended up actually buying still. I was supposed to wait on this headset, but I didn't, which is my own fault. And same with this. I did end up buying a jacket I've had forever ago and wanted again. And then printer ink was a necessity just because that was needed for my eBay printing the shipping labels. And then the interest and fees, I do have a $2.95 fee on my rent every month just because I pay with debit card. And so far I'm going to keep doing that just because Yada has a payback system with using your debit card a certain amount of times, but I'll go more into that in a probably dedicated video. But with that, that is everything accounted for my overspending between these 2 weeks. And now comes the tricky part of trying to figure out where I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks with this $200 left, which that overspending was a lot these 2 weeks. If I were to hazard a guess, I probably got too excited with certain goals I met pretty easily, like paying off the credit cards, all zeroing out, that I reward myself too much. Plus, the problems my wife had during those couple of weeks just added to feeling like I needed to do a little bit for myself and for her to overspend. And that's how that kind of came about. But there's not really a good excuse when you're on a budget. But with that, we should just continue on and try to figure this out. So for gas, I do need a little bit more money in that. On average, it says I spend $149. Last month I spent 118, so I'm gonna guess it's closer to that for this month. So far I've had $55, so I think I will add another 50 to get me to the end of the month. The 2 weeks in March puts me at, this will take me to the end of the month, yeah. And then we'll get another paycheck at the end of the month since this one is 3. But groceries will add a little bit more, so we'll add probably $30 just to double check that. And then food for 2, I'll add probably, we spent 126 in 2 weeks, but it should slow down now that we're out of the water with those problems. We'll add another 45 and see that where that takes us there. I'm kind of skipping over a lot of these categories just because they're a little bit more unused. I will add another, oh, come on, another $30 to my anniversary because I know I'm going to at least spend $60. Maybe I'll add another 5 to make it 65. I am holding off on buying a bigger purchase, so maybe I will keep track of that more for gifting myself some things. And yeah, that ends up with $60 more to divvy up, where I did the date, day of the month, anniversary, My brother's birthday's coming up, and I will be spending probably $40 on him at the very least. This one's a bigger one, just because my brother is turning 25 come May, and he really enjoys SpongeBob and those memes. So we'll probably be getting him the SpongeBob cake of a cake similar to this. But in general, that's probably what's going to happen. I at least have to buy that. I'll double check, but I think I've already spent a little bit on buying him some gifts already that I found for him. So it might just be the cake and maybe one or two more little gifts at the most. That leaves us with $24 still. And for now, we are going to put that in with the friend outing. This LAN party is an event that is coming up pretty soon. So I do need to add a little bit more cash into that to make sure I have enough to spend for some of the groceries and stuff that we're eating, which 24 probably isn't enough. So I will actually go back and take a little bit out of my brother's. Since he's still further away, I'll just add 10 to that and add 30 back into the Fred outing. I don't really do these kind of events often. This is actually more of a one-time thing of getting everyone back together. And so I'm more willing to spend a bigger amount on this. So there's the $54 I already spent on just general gifts for afterwards, and then we still got $54 for groceries. I think I'm going to do a taco night, but that's to be determined. I probably won't spend anything on myself, and we'll see if this is a bigger week for groceries or for dining out. So that's that for that. This next paycheck will probably be for that car insurance. The car insurance and getting ahead on my rent. Hopefully I don't spend too much between now and 2 weeks from now, so that a lot of this third paycheck can just be for savings. But we'll find out. With that said, this has been a bison's journey of making crumbs on the prairie. Thank you all. Like, comment, and subscribe for more of these updates, and I'll be back soon with the next one. I'll catch you later.